To the north, the Diver flows through the centre of Andover. The old mill is a reminder of the town's long association with the river. To the south, it passes through Goodworth Clatford. This is the very last village on the river before the tributary enters the main body of the Test. Although they're close to Andover, the local villages feel as if a century away. Leckford stands below the meeting place of the Diver and the Test. Many of the thatched cottages here date back to the 17th century, and the local church of St Nicholas dates from the 12th. Until the 1920s, it was mostly local people who lived here, either working the land or on the river. The river is still very important to the area, and anglers come from all over the world to experience these expensive fishing waters. The cottages of Longstock, like Leckford, would once have housed farm labourers, but now many have been taken over by outsiders. Longstock, mentioned in Domesday, is, as its name suggests, a village of considerable length. Stockbridge is an artificial causeway built by the Romans to bridge the Test, and during the 10th century there was a Saxon stronghold in place to guard Wessex against the Danes. The serious business these days, though, is fishing. It's said that General Eisenhower came and caught a 2-pound trout at a time when he might well have been considering more pressing military matters. Granted parliamentary representation by Queen Elizabeth I, Stockbridge later became one of the rotten boroughs and lost its status in the Reform Bill of 1832. Sheep fairs were regular events here from Norman times until well into this century. The Welsh inscription on the wall of the drover's cottage is to the point. Seasoned hay, tasty pastures, good beer, comfortable beds, and might well have enticed the Welsh sheep farmers on their arrival. When King Edward VII came for the once famous Stockbridge races, he would stay at Hermit Lodge, and it's alleged that his friend Lily Langtry would also stay in the White House behind the lodge. The old church of St Peter's has been restored by village people. John Bucket is buried here. His inscription reads, "And is alas poor Bucket gone, farewell convivial honest John, oft at the well by fatal stroke, buckets like pitchers must be broke." Wallop Brook joins the Test south of Stockbridge. It rises at Over Wallop and at the height of summer is no more than a trickle. The river flows on to Nether Wallop. It's said the cricketer W.G. Grace would only have his bats made from Wallop yew. History here spans more than 4,000 years. The Church of St Andrews has had various additions to its structure since Saxon times, and locals say that Saxons battled with Romans in nearby Wallop fields. Broughton is the final village along the Wallop Brook. In 1875, a Saxon warrior was unearthed along with his sword and shield on nearby Broughton Hill. The village is on the route of an old Roman road. In the 18th century, a pig of Mendip lead was discovered, dating from the time of Emperor Nero. The Normans, in whose day Broughton was already renowned for its honey, provided the village with a fine church. Close by there once stood the hamlet of Bossington, but it was destroyed as recently as 1829 by the owner of Bossington House. The mill is now the main feature. As the Test flows lazily south, it reaches the village of Mottisfont. The river divides and flows either side of Mottisfont Abbey. A priory was founded here around 1200 by William Brewer. A man of some standing in Hampshire, he held various public offices under Richard I. Mottisfont Abbey was small, and despite a claim to the holy relic of John the Baptist's forefinger, it was never of great importance. During the Reformation, the property passed to the then Lord Chamberlain, William Lord Sands, in exchange for the two villages of Paddington and Chelsea. Just south of Mottisfont, the River Dun flows from the west and into the Test. On its banks sits the peaceful village of Lockerley. Old even at the time of Domesday, it's mentioned as belonging to the Archbishop of York. This mill is now still and makes a pleasant private residence. The village stands in an area that contains one of the oldest settlements in the south. At nearby Canefield farm, pottery from the Bronze Age has been discovered. The Test, like all of the Hampshire rivers, looks idyllic with the arrival of spring. However, there are pressures on all of its rivers. In particular, the salmon no longer run up in the numbers they used to. It may simply be a matter of overfishing at sea, but possibilities closer to the river must be considered. Whether it be agricultural runoff or abstraction of water, there are a number of problems that need careful consideration. Despite the problems, spring still arrives, and at Aurbridge Carnival, children celebrate as people have done for centuries by dancing around the maypole. The river flows on to the west of Romsey and through the beautiful Broadlands Estate. This was the home of a previous Prime Minister, Lord Palmerston, and more recently home to Lord and Lady Mountbatten. The estate is now in the hands of his grandson, who took the Earl's second title, that of Lord Romsey. Romsey to the north is regarded as a market town, but it does retain many of the qualities of the smaller Test Valley villages. At every twist and turn through the streets of this town, there are reminders of a long and fascinating past. In the village centre, Matthew Noble's bronze statue commemorates Lord Palmerston, regarded as one of Britain's finest statesmen. An old saying, "so drunk he must have been to Romsey," meant simply a good day at the market, but it might so easily apply to Romsey's long association with brewing beer. In the early days, the market was held before the abbey, which was founded by King Alfred's son, Edward. It was sacked by the Danes, but later development in the Middle Ages has given it a splendour that overshadows many a cathedral. The creatures that look down from this church have seen many changes over the years, but it's no more than a moment in time to the banks of the old River Test. The river flowed past Old Romsey long before its reflection showed upon these waters. It's nature that bids us caution, for many villages and much of scenic southern Hampshire has been swallowed by development. Let us hope that the many beauties that Hampshire has to offer, from the villages to the rivers that flow past them, may remain for posterity.